Hello everybody, welcome back to another Culz Reviews. Because we enjoyed our foray into some Hollywood movies because of Old Henry, we thought we would do some more. So we watched a classic. I think a lot of people would know this as a classic, some classic music, some classic scenes. And thanks to the Criterion Collection, or at least the Blu Ray in this case, we were able to watch Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. So this one was directed by the late great Stanley Kubrick, and it's, a director we've talked about before as far as when we've mentioned The Shining, and we hope in the near future to cover some more of his films, including perhaps Eyes Wide Shut, one that perhaps doesn't get the love it deserves. But this one was made in 1964, just briefly before his better known film, 2001, A Space Odyssey. So as usual, my name's Keegan. Joining me today is
Sam.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
So this was not my first time watching this film. Andrew, was it your first time?
No.
What about you, Sam?
It was my first time watching this film.
Now, before you watched the film, did you know anything outside of the title?
No. I didn't really know anything about
So
it.
a complete
Besides
blind watch.
some he kind of mentioned something about somebody riding a bomb, but that was about it.
It's definitely like the scene that, at least before I had watched it the first time, because obviously this came out well before any of us were born. It's the scene that obviously I knew of before going in, and so you really didn't know what to expect. Is this a comedy? Is it a Western comedy? Like, what are we watching? So that's kind of where I was when I first watched it, just more intrigued at what kind of concept we were about to get. Alright, so before we go into some spoilers, because obviously we'll have to, we're just going to talk a little bit about the film, or things we enjoyed, cinematography, acting, stuff like that. So, Andrew, starting off with you, what did you enjoy about this film?
Without spoilers?
Without spoilers.
Oh.
I know it's hard.
I found it to be a comical movie, which is something that I enjoy, is when you make something serious kind of comical.
Especially something as serious as, atomic weapons. And I think, I forgot where I read it, but somewhere I read it that was kind of Kubrick's intentions going into it. He wanted to make something serious, but then we saw it, he found it almost comical, the power and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you?
I kind of have to agree with Andrew. It definitely seemed pretty comical and interesting. It was definitely pretty interesting. I'll just leave it there.
We'll just leave it at that before I get to spoilers. And I'll say the same thing. The amount of comedy, and it wasn't overdone like you say in today's cinemas, where it's quip.
Yeah, it's not an Austin Powers movie.
Yeah, it's done at the right moments, or moments where you least expect it, I guess. But it's done respectively. It's not just in your face.
Right.
Obviously, a sign of the times, but definitely enjoyable.
I always like black and white movies to begin
The
with.
cinematography definitely looks really good. And the highlights, like you said, in black and white films, it's just something you don't get, especially when it's filmed on actual film compared to today's digital. You just lose something in that process.
Not what I expected with the title, but it was interesting.
Perhaps not what you expected from a Stanley Kubrick film either, especially because a lot of his are serious. Some of them do have some more jokey aspects to them, but I think a lot of times people kind of see Kubrick as more of a serious director, a lot less comedy, a lot more just tone, I guess. This one has a good tone though. There's definitely that Kubrick, writing. You can see a lot of the good directing, cinematography, stuff like that. Alright, so I hope we won't spoil anyone because it's been out for a while. But before we get to that, we will give our rating recommendations so you guys can click away if need be. So, Andrew, what would you give this film, and would you recommend it?
I give it a 10 out of 10. I'd always recommend a Kubrick film.
Fair play. Sam, what about yourself?
I'll do a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it was good, and I keep saying it, but it was definitely interesting.
Yeah. And for me, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Definitely better than a lot of modern cinema. Just with Kubrick and that name, there's a lot of other films associated, and you start comparing in your mind, even if you try not to, you do. And while it doesn't live up to some of his other films, I do think this is better than The Shining, though. I know it might be a controversial take. It's definitely better than a lot of modern cinema, I would say, for sure, no doubt.
Let us know in the comments if you want to take him out about that Shining comment.
I think people will. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but it's just really slow. Shot really well, but it's just...
I mean, you don't like the slow build-up of things, I've noticed.
No, I like slow burns if they're done right. A lot of Kubrick's are slow burns.
I mean, you hated that one.
I did hate the time scene.
Uh-huh.
They still could have trimmed it down. When I was recording it, it was like 35 minutes of the movie. It was just that. And I think it's a 90-minute movie. Like a third of the movie is that 10. Alright, so now we're getting into spoilers. So you have been warned if you haven't seen this film yet. So Andrew, talking about spoilers and things you might have liked, what did you enjoy?
Definitely one of my favorite scenes is the big board scene. He's gonna see the big board.
He's gonna see the big board. Definitely got a chuckle out of us. President, yes, I'm aware. It's what I want him to see. Definitely a really well-timed piece of comedy, something you don't see in movies anymore, I don't think. Anything else?
Yeah, the German weapons specialist.
Yeah, so Peter Sellers, who, for those of you who don't know, he actually plays 3 roles in this film. And if you didn't know that, you might actually not be able to tell.
Right.
Yeah, they're all very, very different characters, and they just hit the spot. Sam, what about yourself?
Kind of the whole scene with the B-52 bomber crew was always entertaining to go back and forth between what's happening in the war room and then what's happening on the plane. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, all the characters are super stylized in this, and I think that really plays off quite well. Something I also enjoyed was just the names of all the characters. Obviously, they're all kind of funny names, outside maybe Dr. Strangelove, but then you got King Kong, you got Bakwano, you got Jack D. Ripper, so you got all these kind of interesting names. So, you know, just more creativity upon, you know, the crew that built this movie. Alright, so that's our review of Dr. Strangelove. Perhaps we have a reason we watch this, perhaps not. Perhaps just stay tuned to our channel. Like I said, we did watch this via the Criterion Blu Ray, and I would say I highly recommend it, much like any of their other films. We previously did hacks on this channel, and they always look fantastic. They really go back and clean up this film. The audio always sounds really good. No complaints. But if you want to see more Culz Reviews, click that link over Sam's face right now. If you want to see more about what we're doing here at Culz Paranormal, click that link over Andrew. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe.
And switch that notification bell from personalized to all if you want to be notified on all of our videos.
And let us know, what was your favorite part of Dr. Strangelove?